Hope you're all still awake. Late Night Mega here. Couldn't even make it back to the Pokemon Center without triggering a cutscene. Don't worry, nothing has actually happened yet. Sonia's just been standing here waving her arm for quite a long time. Well, that's nice of her. Wait a minute, if she wasn't in the stadium watching the match, how would she know that we won? Never mind, there's more important plot holes to discuss here. Oh, so the Darkest Day had giant Pokemon going on a rampage everywhere. And so clearly the red spots, Dynamaxing, Wishing Stars, energy from that, it's all connected. All connected in a very obvious way. Which makes me wonder how only one person could have figured this all out, and why it took this long to figure this all out. I wouldn't want to wear someone else's lab coat. Or wear anyone else's clothes. That's always just been weird to me. Maybe it's just me. Professor Sonia. No, it looks great. I don't know why the game gives you options like that sometimes in a conversation, when both options are basically the same and aren't going to change anything meaningful. Windon. Or Winden. Winden? Winden. Windia. Every time I see that place, I just want to call it Windia. And you know what? Windia is easier to pronounce, and I like Windia from the Breath of Fire series. That's a town in the Breath of Fire series. Usually one of the main places. So yeah, I'm gonna call it Windia. And it's also like Princess Nina's hometown in the Breath of Fire series. Alright, what else are you... We need to stock up here. I am going to buy some super potions. You might think it's a little weird, but imagine the scenario where I'm like up against the Elite Four, and okay, I beat the first one, and I had a Pokemon take a little bit of damage, but not enough to justify using a Hyper Potion or a Max Potion. So instead, I'll just use the Super Potion. It happens. Although in this game, I actually just kind of wasted a bunch of money. Because, slight spoiler alert, after each... I don't want to put this without putting too many spoilers. After each battle in the Challenge Cup, our Pokemon will get automatically re-healed. And... I don't know where I'm going. I have people cheering me in the streets. That's kind of cool. Usually we don't have like a big famous main character, but now we actually have... I like this concept. The gym challenge has become like this sports spectacle among the people of Galar. That's what they like watching, and they cheer for the people they like, and now they're cheering for me as I'm going through the streets. That's cool. Okay, but I gotta figure out... Oh, I'm supposed to take the train. There's the... I was like, where's the train station here? Yeah, once again, I'm also not fully paying attention to what's on screen. I'm just like, I'll let past gameplay me worry about what's on screen, and I'll just worry about commentating. And so Hop won his final gym badge. That's funny. I still want Raihan's hoodie. I want it. I haven't seen it at any shop yet. Which seems like a really silly decision by the designer's part to not put that in a shop. Like, maybe they just didn't want every single person and their mother wearing it in this game. When you get to online competitions, everyone's wearing that dragon hoodie. I want one of those dragon hoodies in real life. That's cool, the way the teeth are coming up, and it's like, yeah. I know I mentioned that last time, but it's still true in this episode. You know, I see these two here. I almost thought, like, they're link cable. It reminded me of, like, link cabling with the old Game Boys and Game Boy Colors. With as close as there, because you had to be really close to link the two Game Boys together. That's how we played Link games and in two-player stuff on handhelds and did our Pokemon battles and Pokemon trading before they had Wi-Fi. Yes, there was a time in history before they had Wi-Fi, believe it or not. There was a time before they had internet. Then they had internet, and we had this scary thing called dial-up. Those were some dark days. I lived through them. Yeah, dial-up was awful. It used your phone line, which meant you couldn't make phone calls while someone was on the internet. Yeah, imagine doing that. And then, like, if someone tried calling your home phone while you were on the internet, half the time it wouldn't go through, and half the time it would kick you off the internet to get the phone call to come through. Either way, it is really annoying for someone, especially when you're trying to play, like, online games using dial-up. Yeah, we had online games back in the dial-up eras. Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that, Dr. Dial-Up. We played StarCraft online. Alright. So we have a Gardevoir here. And so I'm kind of expecting like a Victory Road type of dungeon coming up. Spoiler alert, there's no Victory Road dungeon. What we're on right now, Route 10, is going to be basically like our Victory Road. So that means we're going to have tough trainers with like evolved Pokemon like this Gardevoir. Oh, this is not good. Calm Mind. You're not giving me a calm mind by doing that. We also have Never-Ending Hail running through here. And Gardevoir is now a Psychic Fairy type. It used to just be a pure Psychic type until Generation 6 when they introduced the Fairy type. Then they went through some of the old Pokemon and changed their typing. So things like Togekiss, which was once a normal flying type, became a fairy flying type. Gardevoir, just a psychic type, became a psychic fairy type. Clefable went from a normal type to a fairy type. So there's a few other examples. Whimsicott went from a grass type to a grass and fairy type. Oh, Azumarill. Azumarill went from a water type to a water fairy type. And I'm pretty sure Azumarill... I think Azumarill's coming in the DLC. So I really look forward to using Azumarill in competitive ranked play. It's a water fairy type. It gets the ability Huge Power, which doubles its physical attack stat. Which sounds really insane, and it really is. Even though it has a fairly low attack stat to begin with, even when you double it and you give it like an adamant nature and pump it full of attack EVs, you're gonna have some huge power to deal with. It also gets Aqua Jet, and you can boost its power even more with like a Life Orb or a Choice Band. Choice Band, huge power, stab, priority move, Aqua Jet, Azumarill. Love the sound of that. And also being a fairy type, it also gets Play Rough. I used an Azumarill on my Pokemon Omega Ruby play Nuzlocke before. One of the more easier Nuzlockes I've done. If you're looking for like a first Nuzlocke to start with, I recommend Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. I had a pretty easy time with that one. I only had like 5 or less deaths. And I ended up assembling like a really cool team, and Azumarill was part of that team. And Azumarill just nuked anything that I sent it out against. Anything that did not resist Fairy was basically one-shotted by huge power Play Rough. And Azumarill had some pretty decent defensive stats, so it could live to take a hit, which is good because it wasn't particularly fast. Meanwhile, we have a Mudsdale here, so we're just going to smack it with a Waterfall. Waterfall also gives us a 20% chance of making the opponent flinch. Thank you for the demonstration. Oh my gosh, I know I recorded this in the past, but I didn't actually plan that moment. You've seen the commentary I've had the past several videos, not knowing exactly what's going on and when it's happening. And we just got the flinch right there. I promise you I didn't plan that. Although I could have just, looked at this video before doing the commentary. That's way too much for me. I mean, it's bad enough that I'm already spending double the amount of time having to go back and do post-commentary. I'm not going to go back, watch a video, and then go back and watch it again and do post-commentary after recording the video. And yeah, no. We'll just chalk that up as part of my YouTubing skill. Yeah, that's what we'll call that. We have a Snover there. I don't think I want to catch... I don't want to catch that. Don't want to catch that. It's a physical Pokemon. It's a Glass Cannon. It's another Sneasel. I have not caught a Pokemon from here yet. I don't want an Ice type. That's an Abomasnow. There's a sign over there. I don't need to read the sign. It's Route 10. What could the trainer tip sign possibly tell me? Get out of here, Sneasel. Let's get into another battle. I'm kind of bummed that this is yet another ice area. Like, we already had an ice route. Why do we have another ice route? Like, we didn't need another ice route. I don't need another ice route. I need something different than this. I want a special attacker. At the very least, I want a special attacker. Granted, Snover / Abomasnow could provide use as a special attacker, I guess. I did use a Mega Abomasnow in a Nuzlocke for a little while in my Pokemon Y Nuzlocke. The attempt where I actually got through and completed the Nuzlocke. I did have a Mega Abomasnow at one point. I liked that thing. It was really well. And then it died to something I wasn't expecting it to die to. But that's what happens when you have a Pokemon with 7 weaknesses. Meanwhile, there's why I don't want Weevil on my team. It is by far a Glass Cannon. Very, very good speed, very good physical attack. However, the moves it has access to are kind of lacking in battle power. So, like, you can have Ice Punch. I think it gets Icicle Crash in this game. Night Slash. It gets Ice Shard. It gets Taunt as well. I do like the stab combination of Dark and Ice, though, because they both cover so many different things. There's a Claydol. It is a ground psychic type. It's fairly defensive. But again, Claydol has like 6 or 7 different weaknesses. Like, ground and psychic do not pair well with each other. They do not cover each other's weaknesses. So it's still weak to everything ground is weak to, and everything psychic is weak to. But the stab combination of ground and psychic is kind of cool. However, with all the weaknesses, Claydol's not going to be around long enough to make good use of them, generally speaking. Though I heard there was a tournament somewhere where, like, a guy won it and he had a Claydol on his team. It was pretty unique. Claydol also gets, like, Explosion. It gets a lot of defensive options. And even though it does have a lot of weaknesses, it has a lot of decent resistances. Like, with Levitate, it's immune to ground. It's immune to sand damage. It resists fighting and rock. And it's immune to electric. So yeah, the typing and ability, it does have a lot going for it as well. And we ran into a Mr. Rhyme. I think I did that on purpose. I'm like, yeah, Mr. Rhyme, that's a special attacker. It's an Ice Psychic type, which, again, also has a really cool type combination. I'm going to use the Quick Ball on this because I really want this thing. It is probably our last capture of the game, and we're not going to get it easily. Yeah, of course. Nino's Mirror Coat. Actually, this is Mr. Mime, which will evolve into Mr. Rhyme. Hypnosis, that's annoying. Please don't do that. So yeah, Ice Psychic type is another nice, like, offensive type combination I like. I like Ice as an offensive type. As a defensive type, it's really bad. So yeah, instead of spending more turns in sleep, I'm just going to use an item to wake us up, because we have plenty of those. Alright, let's get a Thunder Wave off here. And yeah, let's hit a Bulldoze. See how much damage this does. Okay, we could do another one as long as it doesn't get a critical hit. No, we can't get another one. We're just gonna take another nap. Stunfisk, I believe you need to go back and listen to my intro phrase. So we'll just use another Awakening. I've had these things since like the beginning of the game. Mainly because I don't really want to be caught without them. The only issue I have with taking this damage that Stunfisk is taking is that with the hail going on, we're not really gaining anything back with our leftovers. We're just negating the hail damage. Oh, really? Freeze Dry? That's a new move. Well, it's not new to this game. I know they had Freeze Dry in Sun and Moon. I don't know if they had it in Gen 6 or not. But anyways, anything Gen 6 onward, I still consider new to me. So it's a new move, and it's an Ice-type attack. It's got 70 base power. But why you might want to consider using it over, like, Ice Beam, or alongside Ice Beam, is that Freeze Dry will be super effective against water types. Which gives Ice-type attackers a unique opportunity to smack water types that would otherwise, like, resist their attacks. I like it. It also makes certain things have weaknesses that they didn't otherwise have. Like, for instance, Gyarados. While water typically resists ice, flying is weak to ice, so if Gyarados gets hit by an ice attack, it just becomes neutral damage and cancels out. However, if Gyarados is hit by Freeze Dry, well, Freeze Dry is super effective against water, and it's super effective against flying because it's still an ice-type attack. So suddenly, Gyarados has another quadruple weakness, and it's to Freeze Dry. I like that concept. I think it's really interesting. It also makes things like Seismitoad or Gastrodon water-ground type. Typically, they're only weak to grass because water resisting ice and ground being weak to ice, those cancel each other out, becomes a neutral hit if they're hit with an ice-type attack. Hit them with Freeze Dry, and suddenly it's a quadruple weakness. Because water's weak to ice, and ground is weak to ice. So I find Freeze Dry really interesting. A typical thing that people do with Mr. Mime and Mr. Rhyme is using them to set up dual screens. And so we have Light Clays, we have Light Screen and Reflect. These are TMs, so I can use them infinitely, so I have no problems slapping a Light Screen and Reflect on these. On this Mr. Mime here. We'll give it a Light Clay to hold, and we have a dual screener. And that could come in handy. Especially given the way this Nuzlocke's going. Because this game just does not want me to have things that resist water or are neutral to water. Gyarados is like the only thing that's not weak to water on my team. And now we got Mr. Mime, who's not weak to water, but doesn't resist it either. Okay, what else can Mr. Mime learn? I'm not going to use any of the technical records in the main game, just because I'm going to want to hang on to as many of those as possible for the post-game and preparing for competitive Pokemon, even if it's an attack that I might not be using a lot of. But I don't know, because at this point in my Nuzlocke adventure, I don't know what all I'm going to make in competitive Pokemon. I don't know what all I'm going to use. I know I want to use a large variety of Pokemon. Because that's kind of the way I am with these types of things. I want to get, not necessarily everything. I'm not going to necessarily use every single Pokemon. And there's probably some examples. One I can think of that you probably won't see me use is Cramorant. Wobbuffet will be another one you won't see me use. That's one. And no matter how bad this Nuzlocke gets, I'm not bringing out this Wobbuffet. I'm not going to train it up. Same thing with the Vulpix, because we have Cinderace that's basically doing the same thing. I don't need another water weakness on this team is not going to help it. Though maybe I should be having the Vulpix out, just train it. But again, I don't want to use the Firestone. I want to save my Firestones, because at this point in the game, I don't know how many Firestones I can get and how often I can get them. Turns out they're a lot easier to get in this game than, say, the Johto region games. Ooh, Dazzling Gleam. You can learn that. It's a Fairy-type attack. Yeah, we'll have that over Mirror Coat. It's not a stab move, but that's interesting. It makes me wonder if I could do like a choice specs Mr. Mime or Mr. Rhyme. Dish out some massive damage with that. No, we'll see. And there's Light Clay. We got plenty of those. And so yeah, we got our new catch from Route 10. And so with that, I'm going to heal up. We're going to head back to Route 10. I'll meet you guys there next time.